So I'm Paul Solt, and I run my own company here in Rochester. I build iPhone apps, and I teach. So I've taught at RIT as an adjunct professor, and I want to tell you about how I raised $47,000 on Kickstarter this past summer. So I think that Kickstarter is a great platform if you're looking to raise money for something. I think there's a right way to go about it, and I think there's a wrong way to go about it. And I want to talk about, I guess, some of the research that I did in sort of launching my project and how I got to the point and sort of how to analyze different projects and figure out if there's a place where you can make money on Kickstarter and have a successful project. So here's my project page. I proposed a project on how to create iPhone apps, and I raised $47,984. Now, what you have to understand is the number you see there isn't the exact number you get in your bank account after the project ends. There's failed credit cards, which is around probably anywhere between 1% and 5% of the total. And then there's the fees for Kickstarter, which I believe around 3%, and I think Amazon payments was around 5%. So at the end of the day, I got $43,000 in my bank account from this project. So it was nice. It wasn't exactly 47, but then I went on to raise another $6,000. So I guess in total I've raised close to $48,000 that is actually in my bank account. Then there's taxes that you have to think about, and this past year I paid around $15,000 in taxes. Now, I did make more money with my teaching that I sell as courses. I made another $40,000 or so from selling courses. So that's why my taxes were higher. So I expense a lot of things. I bought a lot of audio equipment to help support this Kickstarter project. I've invested a lot of the money into different services and stuff like that. So when you're raising money, you want to value your time and your work. And I see a lot of Kickstarter projects don't really do this. They sell themselves too low. They might say, okay, you can get the whole thing for $10, and then you can get the whole thing plus this t-shirt for $50. And who wants the whole thing plus a t-shirt for $50 if you could just get the whole thing for $10? So there's a lot of people who undersell their thing, and they don't think about how they structure the rewards. So you want to make sure that you're valuing what you're doing in the project, and you want to set a goal. I think between $5,000 and $10,000. I think this is a sweet spot. Probably closer to $5,000 is a good starting goal. Once you get funded, it sort of changes the game, in my opinion. Once you're funded, it encourages other people to want to back your Kickstarter project. If you go and go and go and you're not funded, people are like, should I back it? Should I back it? And they're sort of hesitating on whether they want to give you money, and so it's someone that you're not necessarily going to get. So once I got funded, the numbers just climbed dramatically. In the beginning, I wasn't sure I was going to get funded, and there's some things I did that made it so that I got funded, and I think some things I did made it more successful. The other thing you want to do is you want to reduce costs. A lot of people think that if they do a Kickstarter, they have to give t-shirts away. They have to do stickers. They have to do all these physical things that are not in line with what they're doing. If you're selling something that's digital, there's no reason why you need to give anyone anything that's physical. And if you do, make it a hell of a lot more money. Make it so that it costs a lot more. Deter people from doing it, because it's going to be a pain in the butt to fulfill when you're finished your project. So I would skip the t-shirts, especially on your first Kickstarter. Learn what you want to do, and don't do t-shirts. The other thing that's super important, I think, is research. We spent about 3 months researching what we wanted to do for this Kickstarter project. And a lot of it was, okay, how much money can I raise if I do this type of project? Or how much money can I raise if I do this type of project? So I looked at successful projects and I looked at unsuccessful projects. Since I'm in the app development business, I wanted to fund a new app. But when I looked, the numbers were closer to maybe $5,000 or $10,000 for a successful project. And it looked like there was a lot more failures than there were successes. And so that's something that I sort of steered away from. And then we started looking at, well, what else am I good at? I'm good at teaching, and that's something that I've done at RIT a lot, and that's something that I enjoy doing sort of one-on-one with different people that I've worked with on apps. And so we thought, well, there's definitely a market for better online teaching. Right now, I think one of the best resources for iPhone development is Big Nerd Ranch's books. And Big Nerd Ranch has this sort of monastery idea to development where you can go to their location in Georgia and learn for around $4,000, or you can get their book for $30. But they don't offer anything in between. And they actually think that online teaching isn't an effective tool, whereas I'm of the opinion that you can learn a lot from online teaching, and it's definitely something that people are willing to pay for. So we looked at some successful projects, and there was some that raised a good amount of money. So one of the first ones I looked at was this Android Complete project. And this guy had run 2 Kickstarter projects. The first one he raised $24,000 for WordPress tutorials. And this one he raised $43,000 for Android programming tutorials. So there really solidified where I wanted to go with the Kickstarter. Once I saw this project, in comparison to the actual apps, I knew that this is where the money was at, and if I wanted to keep funding my own company and pursue teaching as another funding source, then this would be the way to go. Here's another one. Now, I helped this guy. This is Taylor Beck. He started this project, I believe, a month ago. It was successfully funded in April, so he started in March. And I think the stuff that I walked him through, the things that I helped him, really helped guide him to make this more successful. In the beginning, he didn't think that he needed a reward above $49. He thought he could just give the whole thing away for $49. And I strongly encouraged him around halfway through the project, when I saw that he hadn't done everything I had explained, is during the lifetime of a project, you want to add rewards, you want to push people to donate more money. Once someone's donated money, they're more likely to donate more money than someone who's never backed the project. So I encouraged him to have a $99 price point. And so eventually he did add one, and that, I think, became his biggest backer reward. And he went from around $10,000 or $12,000 halfway through the project to skyrocketing up to $54,000. So I think that played a big role in doing that, and there's other things that I want to talk about that you can do. Now, something that's not successful, here's one that's not very successful right now, and this one's still going. I believe it has another 30 days or so, and I don't think it's going to be, it might be funded. Its goal is 2,000 pounds, but it needs a lot of work, and there's certain issues with this that I want to talk about, and this is sort of what I'm doing when I'm analyzing, like, where's the best place, what's the best category, how can I differentiate myself, and how can I structure my rewards so I can actually make money. So when it comes to rewards, I think the reward structure is crucial to raising any money. Depending on how you do it, you're not going to get any money. So I think less rewards is better. A lot of times people have too many rewards, and it's confusing. It's like, okay, well, I want to support this project, but which level do I back at? Do I back at the $5, the $10, the $15? You give me too many options, and then I can't make a decision. So I think that if you start out and you limit it to 2 or 3 rewards, you can really focus your audience onto this is what you can get as an introductory level, and then this is the complete thing. And then maybe partway through the project, you want to add another reward. You don't have to do everything up at the front. You can always add more rewards as you go. The other thing that I think is important is that you want to have names that can sort of identify with the people. You want them to be, okay, this is what I'm backing. Because one of the problems with the rewards is once you write the text for the rewards, the text is locked in. You can't change it. And so that means that if you promise all these different things or you want to make something clear, you can't. You're stuck with whatever you started with. So if you can create a name that you can sort of brand, this is what this reward level is, then in your project description, which is editable throughout the entire lifetime of the project, you can go into more detail about what exactly they're getting, and you can include pictures, which is super helpful to someone who's like, okay, how can I sort of compare between these different reward levels? And the other thing that is crucial that I think a lot of people fail at is the money doesn't add up. If you have $1, $2, $3, $4 rewards, you're not going to be able to raise $100,000. You need a hell of a lot of people to back at that level, and you're not going to get that much exposure with your project. And the people who are willing to donate $1 or $2 or $3 are willing to give you money. So you're leaving money on the table by having it so low. If you want to raise a lot of money, you need to make sure that your reward levels make sense. And so this means you want to focus on rewards that are higher, like $19, $59, $99. You want those people to donate more money, and during the project you can add more rewards, and you can encourage people to up their donations so that you can raise your overall funding. And that's pretty easy to do if you add like a bonus feature or something like that. I wouldn't go too far with the whole stretch goals. That's something that Kickstarter sort of is recommending that you scale back a little bit. The other thing that I think is important is there's a lot that's going on when you run a Kickstarter project. So if you can minimize the amount of management on your part, you can make your life a lot easier. I think that the fall-through reward system that's sort of been the standard on Kickstarter is not good for Kickstarter project owners. If you want to raise money, you're overpromising and you're giving away so much stuff for free when you do these fall through, where it's okay, you get everything above or below this price point. You want the reward to be a very finite thing and not as abstract. You want it to be very clear what the backer is getting, and you don't want there to be any confusion. So I think that having a named reward and then a description and a picture in your project page is a lot better than saying, okay, you're going to get everything above this. Because what if halfway through the project you want to add a lower tier? Now you had the problem where you wanted to add something, but now you have all these other rewards that say they get everything above, and it just creates tension that you don't need. I really think it's important to skip physical goods if you're doing something that's digital, or even if you are doing something that's physical. If you are making ice cube trays, it doesn't make sense to make t-shirts. You want to focus on what your project is, and that's the whole point of Kickstarter. Kickstarter is so that you can fund a creative endeavor that you can then put to production and that you can give your backers. So you don't want to lose focus and waste your money that you're raising on something like a t-shirt or a sticker, or even shipping if it's just additional money you're throwing away. The other thing that's important, again, I want to stress this, is that the text is locked once a backer backs a reward level. So up until someone backs something, you can remove it, you can edit the text, but once you have one backer on that reward level, it's locked in, so you can't make any changes. And so partway through a project, a backer might tell you, oh, I'm a little confused about this, can you explain it? And it kind of isn't good when you can't go and edit the text to make it a little bit more clear. Maybe you miswrote it somehow, and now you have no way of going back. So keep your rewards short and succinct, and make sure you proofread them before you post them, because they are locked once you get backers. All right, so let's look at some of these reward levels. These are our two successful projects on the left. You can see there's the two left projects only have less than 3 rewards, and they were both successful. So you had $10, $25, and $45, and then the other one had $50 and $70. Now I think both of these are leaving money on the table, and I say this because I know that this left one is the Android course, and I know that the average backer value that I had was $68. Now the other successful iPhone project that I showed you about course materials, which is in the same category, his average backing was around $78. So with that knowledge, you can then structure your rewards and say, okay, I know people are going to want to pay more money, so I can go $99, $59, or maybe $29. The other thing you want to take into account here is Apple does pricing a certain way because it works. They use the 9 on the end because it works. So if you have a price $20 and $29, you want to make sure that you're, again, not leaving money on the table, because someone who's willing to back $20 is willing to back $29. To them, it looks like the same thing. So leverage Apple's pricing strategies. And don't give away too much for free. This project on the right, this is the other iPhone project that's not successful right now. And if it is successful, it's not going to raise very much money because he's giving too much away for just £1 or £2. He's giving them the full course. One of them is for Hacker News, which I told him that he needed to create special incentives for certain categories, and then he went and sort of just lowballed everything. So like, if you want to raise money, don't do a $2 reward. I didn't give anything away for anyone who gave $10. $10 was thank you, and that's it. And I think that was effective at pushing people to donate more. I'm not going to give you something for that little. The other thing with your videos, you want to tell a story. People want to connect with you, and I think this is the part that really made my project take off. You want to refilm during your project. You can always post a new film. And what I found is my original video wasn't very good. I knew it wasn't good, but I didn't want to change it, and I have the links here. And then I refilmed it to sort of tell a story. So the big takeaway from this is the first video I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you this, I'm going to give you this, I'm going to give you this, and it's all this technical knowledge that no one understands. And so when I refilmed it, it was more, okay, this is my story, this is where I started, this is where I've taught, these are the types of students that I've had that are exciting, and I want to help you learn. And so I was painting a picture for the students, so I think that's really important. The other thing is I wasn't looking at the camera in the first video, and in the second video I was looking more at the camera. So I think that connected more with the audience. Now, when your project is live, it's a living project. It's something that you can edit a lot. I edited my project the entire time it was live, and I posted announcements for new rewards and things like that, just to get people interested, get people to keep promoting things. If you can introduce something that adds value, that's good for your project. You want to change everything. You can change the thumbnail for the video, you can change the blurb, you can change the body, you can change the video, you can change the rewards. Now there's certain restrictions on some of those things, but for the most part they're all editable. At the end, you want to make sure that you have a way to connect with you and maybe accept more donations through PayPal. I used Squarespace and I was able to raise another $6,000. So that was from late backers, people who missed the normal project deadline. They got the link from the Kickstarter page, and there was enough traffic that drove people to want to say, okay, I want to back this project. All right, so in review, you want to value your work. You want to make sure that you're not leaving money on the table. There's certain price points that make sense for different types of projects. An app is going to have a lower price point that you'll be able to get funded for than something like course materials. Now, there's tons of different categories on Kickstarter. So I can go through some of those if you guys have questions. And the other thing is you have to plan before, during, and after. So you want to plan what you want to have on launch day. You want to plan what you want to do during the campaign. How can you get people to stay involved with the project? How can you bring people back? How can you get them to be salespeople for you? And then afterwards, you want to have some way to be late backers if that's something that makes sense for your Kickstarter project. All right, so that's all I have right now, and then I can go into questions. We can look at more Kickstarter pages if you guys want to do any kind of analysis or something like that.
For late backers, should you also give them the rewards at each level?
Late backers, I just have one reward,
Okay.
and it was just to back the whole thing. And I experimented with raising the price. I'm not sure if raising the price was necessarily the best thing. Here's my project. And right here there's a link to my website. Can't see my mouse. So right here's a link, and this one right here. This brings you to my page. Right now I have it up for $249. So I experimented with having it at $99. I probably had the most backers at $99, so maybe it makes sense to go back to that. But my goal was to raise the price after the Kickstarter had ended. I did get a bunch at $199, and then I got a few at $249. So it hasn't been as much lately, and you can see that I've raised another $6,600, minus about, I think, 3% fees.
Just a general question on funding. Where's the IRS stand on that?
In which way?
You're essentially taking income.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of discussion on crowdfunding as to where the tax liabilities reside. Do you have an obligation to declare that as income?
Yes.
Okay.
I declared it as income and I pay taxes on it.
So that's the way they resolved the, because I know there was a lot of contention in the beginning because the IRS didn't seem to have a very good way to monitor or manage that income.
Yeah. I got tax documents from Amazon who did all the payment processing.
Oh, okay.
So I just gave that to my accountant and they figured things out after all my business expenses.
Can you talk about how the difference between having a video course that already exists, which is out there, versus using Kickstarter to get the funds to then go to create it?
I mean, that's essentially what I did.
Yeah.
The whole point is I had some materials that I created. The materials I created before were mostly from a live stream event that I did for Skillshare. And they weren't very good, and I knew they weren't very good, and it was something that I wanted to improve. So I taught iPhone courses on Skillshare, and that's how I got started. And then I wanted to go ahead and create a new set for iOS 7, and that's sort of the goal of this project, was to do that. The other thing that I think is important, and let's go into my, backer report. I can show you more numbers. Most of this money is not from people I know. And that's what I think is really important with Kickstarter, is you need to appeal to people who you don't know, people who are just random and they're going to back you. So here is my funding progress. Actually, I want to show you something else as well. There's a website called KickTrack. So here you can see the funding progress. I got funded, I would say around 18 days in. That was $10,000. I didn't think I was going to get funded about 5 days before that. I was not sure. And then after it got funded, the funding just sort of took off. More people were tweeting about it, more people were talking about it. I offered new rewards that encouraged some of the people who had backed to give me more money, and so on. So here you can see that my average pledge, and then this pie chart right here, that is pretty much everyone from people I don't know or I don't have influence from. Everything else was from external sites, which not necessarily was someone that I knew. And then you can see more details about where things came from. A lot of it came from, the biggest thing was the technology discover. So because my project was somewhat popular on the technology section, it was featured higher up, so that it had more visibility. That definitely helped. And then KickTrack is a great way to see if your project is on track. And you can, I think, just paste the link for a project here. And they give you more stats. You can get the daily data. So here you can see, if I zoom in, it's hard to read, but this is the daily data for how much money I was making each day. And so it's started off with $1,300 the first day, then $900, then $800, then $300, $200, and it sort of petered off. And then around halfway through the project is when I refilmed, I re-edited everything. I tried to tell a better story, and then numbers started to go up. And so I was making on the July 1st, 1,900, 2,000, 2,100, and those numbers kept going up. And normally when a project ends, your numbers will go up as well. So that's a good way. And the other nice thing about this site, kicktrack.com, is that you can get estimates for the projection or what the trend line is going to look like. So you can see, okay, is my project on target? And initially, my project was not trending like it was going to be funded. Any other questions?
What did you do to get it to all of a sudden pick up momentum?
A new video. And lots of edits, new rewards. So this is the new video. It's not great.
Welcome to How to Program iPhone Apps from Scratch. This is a Kickstarter project that I started because I wanted to help other people learn. I started teaching as an adjunct professor.
So I think that having good video and good audio can go a long way in helping, but really telling the story of why you're doing it and what the people are getting out of it is really important.
I saw your video a couple weeks ago on Kickstarter.
How do you deliver the course ultimately?
So I've been delivering the course through udemy.com, but I'm planning to switch to a site called Use Fedora, which allows me to do subscriptions and allows me to bundle all the courses. The problem with Udemy is I can only do one course at a time, and this Kickstarter was initially for 5 courses, and then I had stretch goals that made it 13 courses. So it's a lot more course content. That's why I wouldn't do the stretch goals. I'm still working through the stretch goals. So it's been a lot of work. I've filmed over probably 110 videos, and I still probably have another 80 videos to go to sort of finish up the project. So it's been a lot of work, but it's been good, and it's nice because the whole point of the project was to fund new course development. Once I finish a course, I can post it, and like I posted the first course, and it made $10,000 on Udemy, and it made another $10,000 on Skillshare. So I was able to make another $20,000 just from selling the stuff that backers helped me fund the development of. So this is something that allows me to focus on making this. Now, granted, it does take a lot of time to do something like this, so you have to make sure that you give yourself the time window to finish a project. And I would shoot smaller probably than what I did.
What do the fees look like for Udemy for hosting a course?
They take so much money. They do tons of discounts, and then they can take 75% off with a discount, and then if it's through affiliates or them, there's another 75% that gets cut off. So it's basically 75% of 75% is taken away. So you get, I think that's 12-point-something% that you actually get. So I have courses on there for $200, and I only get $12 when someone signs up. And then they do promotions where they're like $10, and then they only get $1 or like 75. So it's not good. Skillshare's been better, but Skillshare's very, very focused, and they're not very open to having a lot of new instructors teaching the same topics. They want to have the best instructors teaching just a few topics. All right, it looks like we're out of time. Thanks for coming, and I'll post this online. You can follow me on Twitter at Paul Solt. That's just Paulsolt. And if you have any questions about Kickstarter, if you want to start your own project, I'm happy to talk. My email is just paulsolt@iPhonedev.tv.